Okay, I got cut off. Either I've been cyber attacked or somebody's just cut me off. So I'm just continuing on with my discussions regarding the American Samoan US 14th Amendment, a ruling that was passed by the 10th US Circuit Court Court of Appeals regarding the High Court ruling to exclude automatic US citizenship for American Samoans by right of birthright. I am a Samoan and from New Zealand, born in New Zealand and raised up in Australia, whom is married to a US citizen American, whom has served for a number of years in the US military. And she won't personally express a view on this particular subject. However, as a non-American citizen, I would like to express a view regarding this situation with a deep concern regarding the disenfranchisement and rendering American Samoans as permanent second-class citizens within American Samoa. Although, as it were, the American Samoans have their natural laws, natural justice arrangements with regards with their special status as a unincorporated and unorganized territory of the United States of America, whom would suggest that the sovereign head of state of American Samoa is still the POTUS, or the President of the United States of America. Although it has its own special arrangements whereby it has its governor as its self-actualized government. Now, the reason why I speak of in terms of Samoans' special status is by right of the fact that in the traditional Tumu Mapule arrangements of the political, geopolitical status of traditional Samoans' political boundaries, Samoa was divided according to Tui Manua being the paramount chief of the eastern islands of Tutuila and Manua, and Ta'u and Osafil. Those areas were traditionally under the rulership of the Tui Manua. However, during the pre-division of Samoa between East and West, and the creation of the U.S. territory of American Samoa in 1899, and with the official separation, partition, and ratification of the American Samoan territory. It occurred in 1899, and the American Samoan Constitution was drafted in 1929, whereas the Western Samoan Constitution was drafted and passed into the Samoan government in 1962, when it gained its independence from New Zealand. Now, in 1899, the head of state, as it were, of a unified Samoa was, in fact, Malietoa Laupepa. So, in that context of unified Samoa, it may be argued that if Samoans are wanting to establish their exclusivity status with the US government, the centralized government in Washington, D.C., and even to the point whereby the Congresswoman Amata Coleman Rodwagon being the only Samoan representative within Congress, her special status may be considered null and void, then Samoa could, in effect, may consider reunification in a context that Samoa may amend a unified constitution having the Tui Manoa amalgamated with the Te Maoainga as the Council of Deputies, and also having either a permanent monarchy of Samoa in the creation of a united Kingdom of Samoa. That way we can repeal the 1899 partition Ratification Act of Samoa, of American Samoa, to be unified under the head of state of the Kingdom of Samoa. That may be an option. If and say that the automatic US citizenship status would remain permanently second-class citizenry rights for American Samoans. If we have that situation where American Samoans are permanently second-class citizens, and the only way for them to become US citizens is via US military enlistment or via services rendered by any means, such as le pulero le tautua o le ala ia whailato sitiseni o le tautua i le māloa o America in whatever means necessary for them to become naturalized, as it were. The situation is a matter concerning self-actualization and cultural identity of Samoans, whether we could all be united as one nation. It may preclude us and exclude us from congressmen, congresswomen representations within Washington, D.C. It may be a necessary sacrifice for Samoa to gain its unified independence. I had noticed that the economic dependency of the American Samoans to the US is actually minimal, with the American Samoa's GDP of only 650 million for a population of 45,000 is very minimal. The vast majority of Samoans are now American citizens living permanently in the United States, who were originally descendants of American Samoans, numbering up to 250,000 as permanent US citizens in stateside or in Hawaii. In that regard, the fact that American Samoa is not necessarily a preclusion for Samoans to become US citizens, it doesn't matter. So for that reason, it may be necessary for Samoans to reconsider their status as a unincorporated and unorganized country or a separate territory to the US. It's not like Puerto Rico. Unfortunately for Samoans, because we're so small, we've been assimilated by the larger group of minorities, as it were. During the American-Spanish War of 1904, American Samoans were swept under that disenfranchisement arrangement under the Theodore Roosevelt administration and the McKinley administration leading up to World War I. The American Samoans were included with the Spanish territories that were acquired during the victory of the Americans over the Spaniards. And that included American Samoan and Guam, Marshall Islands, and Micronesia, as well as the Philippines. Now, the rules regarding the exclusions of Filipinos to become automatic US citizens paradoxically included the Samoans, although the Samoans weren't even part of the Spaniards' territories. Unfortunately, that's the case, that we were assimilated and swept under and tarred by the same brush. Now, that is an issue that we need to, address seriously. Now, American Samoans have their own Congress, as it were. They have a Senate. They have their own House of Representatives, 25 members of the House of Representatives, and then they have 18 senators in this little minuscule island with a population of less than 45,000. And the vast majority of American Samoans have gone through the rites of passage to become naturalized as American citizens, most of which would include US military services. That's the number one process to become an American citizen, as it were. The other is through natural economic migration into the stateside via Hawaii, and through family reunification means. And the other is through sports, NFL, and baseball to a lesser extent, but primarily through the NFL. But that's like winning the lottery. Very few Samoans actually make it through. But like the military, the NFL, the number one recruitment of NFL players are actually sourced from American Samoa, from the Pacific Islands. And the number one US military source has been sourced from American Samoa as well for the recruitment, automatic recruitment into the US military, in which, in due course, most of them, whilst they're serving, their attestations to the US pledge to the US Constitution and the US nation is done during the process of their military service. And that is their attestations and their naturalization pledges at the same time. As for, so American Samoans actually like that. But as for us, viewing it from that side and viewing it from a pre-1899 Samoan perspective, as a descendant of Malietoa, we view the fragmentation and the partition of the Kingdom of Samoa as a moot point, which may stir up the present situation of Western Samoa with its musical chairs of heads of states. There may be a precursor and a catalyst through which a unified and perhaps a constitutional amendment may be made, insofar as re-looking at the executive part of the executive within the Samoan Constitution, that may, in due course, re-look in the reunification of Samoa and the creation of a monarchy in order to create a Kingdom of Samoa to even rival or equal the Tongan Kingdom, so that at long last we can have a permanent tawhaiwha, but rather than having a tawhaiwha, having His Majesty or Her Majesty, the King or Queen of the Kingdom of Samoa. The way we could ever, that's the only way we can ever achieve that is through the inclusion of Tui Manua and American Samoa together with Samoa. Pipe dreams at this moment in time, but in due course, when you sow the seeds, people will realize that that is the natural progression for Samoans to be reunified as a single nation and as a single kingdom and under a single monarchy. My decision as a Samoan would be to consider the Sa Malietoa heraldry and the genealogy of the Sa Malietoa family as the natural kingdom and monarchy for the people of Samoa. Of course, there's going to be a lot of moot, a lot of protestations from the Satupua Tamasese, from Tui Manua, from Tui Atua, from Tui Aana, and other Tamao Ainga, but I would put it to you that they may remain as members of the aristocrats and the paramount chiefs, but they must accept, similarly to the Tui Hapai, the Tui Vava'u, and Tui Kanakopolu, that the Tui Tonga must remain as the single head of state, as the single royal family. Samoa can do the same by having a single kingdom under a single head of state, namely the Sa Malietoa family. That is the way to consolidate the power base and the utter disrespect against the king of Samoa or the head of state of Samoa. E le se tupu o Samoa. E te taona tu whatasi Samoa. That way you will have a proper kingdom. And you may even be considered seriously for the preeminent Polynesian kingdom throughout all of Polynesia. Now, this is a very important moot, and American Samoa is an integral part of this debate. This is not subversion. This is a prescription and a description of the political history of Samoa. From the time of 1899, there's been 121 years of a vacuous power base for the people of Samoa. We need to address that issue because these issues have been dealt with by European advisors and manipulators of Samoan politics via external forces such as the Germans, the British, and the Americans. We need to address this ourselves as Samoans. We can do it ourselves. And the way to look forward is to consider the Sa Malietoa as the true heads of state of Samoa. That is all I have to say for now. Yeah, Manuel.